In this video, I'm about to defend any people that are Geminis, any people with strong Gemini placements, and prove to you that Geminis are not as bad as you think they are, and to prove to you that they get a bad rep and that they're perhaps one of the most misunderstood signs in astrology. And there's actually some really great things about them that can be misconstrued and misunderstood and seen as something else, and they can be seen as two-faced. But actually, a good Gemini, like a high vibe Gemini, love them. I am biased since I am a Gemini rising, and I know quite a lot of Gemini people, so let's get into it. Now, actually, before we get into it, just a quick disclaimer that when I'm talking about Geminis in this circumstance, I'm talking about Geminis that have like high vibe qualities, and by that I mean it's just someone that has a lot of the positive traits, that's really worked on themselves, you know what I mean. And also, this is not only just people that are like Gemini suns or Gemini risings, but anyone that has very dominant or fairly strong placements in Gemini. This can apply to them. I'm just talking about Gemini energies in general and how fucking sick they can play out within people. Okay, I think one of the number one reason why people find Geminis to be kind of unlikable is because they come across as really flaky and kind of like they don't have their own opinion. And this is largely because it's like rare for them to stick to one opinion for a long period of time. And while that does sound kind of like uncommitted and someone that doesn't really know what they're talking about, and they just kind of like fly from one opinion or viewpoint to another without really understanding it, it's because they are open to all perspectives. Yeah, they're open to so many perspectives because they can really try to put themselves in so many people's shoes and understand to an extent what someone might be seeing or might be going through within their own life. And so they are not ones to stay grounded or stick within one dominant value system or whatever, because they see the complexities within it, which I think, as a fixed sign, which they're not, but if for fixed signs, staying within a structured, belief system is very easy for them, but for Geminis, as a mutable energy, they really are all around the place. And it's, although they can be really flighty or come across that way, it really is because it just stems from a place of curiosity, a place of wanting to understand, and then trying to obtain as much knowledge as possible. So by sticking to one opinion, then they're not able to grow their mind rather than if they were to have several different opinions, or they're changing opinions where they're like, I agree with you and then I also agree with you, even though that seems to contradict itself. Well, that allows their mind to grow, and they're all about mind stimulation. So that's maybe what might be going on with your Gemini people, if they seem to be kind of contradicting themselves and being problematic in that way, and they might not always be as problematic as you might think. I don't know your situation, but another great reason why Geminis are actually really great and underrated, and what's really enjoyable and lovable about them, is that they can match any energy you throw at them. And this can also make it seem like they're really two-faced, like they have several people within them. You can't trust them because there's so many different people. But these parts of themselves aren't necessarily lies of themselves or them faking. These are just different aspects of themselves that really like to come out and play. And so if it's a little bit weird for you to see, your Gemini friend or whatever speaking to you really differently, and then you see them speak to someone else in an entirely different way that doesn't seem like themselves at all, that isn't them. That doesn't mean that the person you were talking to is disgenuine, or like that's not the real self, not their real selves. That's just the different aspects of the Gemini, because they're very multifaceted, very multifaceted. Not even double faced, but like, you know, quadruple faced in a good way. Yeah, they're essentially just a master chameleon. They can match whatever energy you throw at them. If you are in a more chill mood, then they can also be in that chill mood, but then also give the energy needed for the dynamic to move along and stay interesting, because Geminis are all about wanting to keep things going, flowing, and maintaining interest and intrigue the entire time. So like, if you are kind of boring or if you bore them because you're not giving them enough to work with, then they can lose interest very quickly, which can come across as like kind of rude, because they're not giving you the chance to like actually show yourself. And yeah, that may be a bit of a flaw for Geminis, but it's just kind of like keeping a child like entertained. Is you gotta give a little, and then you'll receive a lot from that. Now, another reason why people may not like Geminis is because it seems like they're flirting with everyone, which can be really sucky if you're like trying to pursue a Gemini, but it just looks like they're flirting with everyone, maybe except for you. And yeah, Geminis are inherently flirty creatures, but what's important to know about the Gemini nature is that flirting is just inherently part of human connection to them. It's part of banter, and they love that shit. And it's not just for solely romantic connections or people that they're trying to pursue or people that they're attracted to. They will banter and flirt with literally anyone that is willing to give that to them. Anyone that sparks their interest, whether that is romantically, sexually, or just like platonically. They will want to get to know you through that kind of communication of teasing and showing off, you know? And so it's good to understand that if it seems like they're flirting with everyone, it may not be that they're actually trying to flirt with everyone. That's just kind of naturally their style of communication. So yeah, another reason why they're really great, but they may be seen, these traits may be seen as not so great, is that Geminis do not take life too seriously, really at all, and that can kind of put off people or offend people depending on the situation or, you know, what your conversation is. But it's because they really see the humor in everything. They're like, honestly, can be pretty sarcastic. It's kind of similar to like Capricorn sarcasm, but a little less dark and a little bit more like fast-paced, uplifting kind of vibes. But yeah, but not only do they just not take life too seriously, but they see the funny flaws within language that many don't, and they use that and they utilize it. And it can be a little bit confusing being around someone with strong Gemini placements, especially like a Gemini Mercury, because the way they use language is maybe not what you're used to seeing or used to hearing, and it seems like they see something that you don't, and so you feel a little bit left out of this world that they've created, and it feels kind of isolating, and you're like, I don't really like want to be around that energy. But honestly, you don't have to be on the same like level, like the same understanding. They just want to see that you can appreciate the playfulness of language, and like you can see the flaws within language as well. They want to see you work with language in your own way, and you both kind of know that, okay, we're kind of like poking fun at something here, and it may not necessarily be like the same exact thing, but we're both kind of on that same understanding of like, this is just silly and stupid, you know? Geminis are the type of sign where they will say things just to say things, and there's not necessarily much deep meaning behind them, but then often people can take deeper meaning behind their words, and then that can be in a sticky situation where like the Gemini said something maybe like that offended someone, but it was never meant to. It didn't come from a place of like malice, they just sometimes like push a little bit too far the leg. And if they don't know the person too well, then they don't know that person's boundaries. And so it can get a little bit ugly. But yeah, they see the sarcasm, they see the inherent like stupidity of life and how mundane but weird it is, and they like to highlight that, especially within conversations with people. Also, Geminis are really like, if you're having a conversation, like if you've ever had a conversation with someone where it kind of feels like you're playing, like they're playing a character, and then like you could be playing a character too, and then you're both like interacting with each other through these characters, even though it's kind of an extension of you, but it's not. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've experienced that. But it can be very fun energy, but if you're like not in the mood for it, it can be a lot and you don't really know how to interact with it and provide energy for it. So like it can be really funny and goofy and like a good time if you're feeling up for it, but yeah, it can be a lot. Another thing that Geminis are not well known for is that they are maybe not the best at like keeping secrets, because they really love to gossip. Big gossip heads. But the thing about Gemini, one of the reasons that they may be spreading so much gossip is because most of their interactions with people kind of stem through like dishing tea, through gossip, through talking about other people. And so they might not actually realize that what you're telling them is not something that they should be spreading or like mentioning. So if you don't inherently tell a Gemini, like you can't tell someone this, then they're probably just going to think that this is like, okay, like this is knowledge that, you know, like my friend can know about or whatever. Like, oh, they think that this is part of the, what's the word? This is available to everyone kind of thing. So yeah, they can be known to like spilling secrets, whether that's intentionally or accidentally, and they may not take your gossip as seriously as you do, and so they will maybe like spread or like misspread information in a way that's like a lot more silly and lighthearted than what the situation actually is to the person whose gossip they're spreading. So that can be like that can be hurtful, you know? So you gotta be direct with a Gemini. That is so important. Being direct with a Gemini, like, because the thing with Geminis is that they are very direct yet indirect with talking to you about things. So they will talk to you, be like, I'm talking to you about this thing, but they're doing it in a way that is, again, making kind of fun of the situation, or like making lighter heartedness to the situation, making it seem like, oh, this is nonchalant, but they're really like talking about something serious. So they kind of hide within their directness, if that makes sense. And so being really direct to a Gemini, sometimes they won't always know how to interact with that, but they will understand what you're saying. But if you are direct with them within layers of being like indirect, where you're like talking about something specifically but kind of referring to something else, they're very good at catching that and knowing what you're talking about. So just a note for you, if you have any Gemini people and you like want to get a message across, but maybe you're in like public and you can't really talk about the thing, maybe try that. But yeah, those are some reasons why Geminis may be seen as not so great, but then underneath it, it actually comes from a really pleasant and fun and lovable and childlike place. And if you're into like, you know, high energy conversations and just youthful energy where you're not taking things too seriously, having a Gemini friend can be really fun. And they can be they can be a little bit hard to reach, and sometimes if you're like trying to make plans and stuff, they're a little bit chaotic. They have a busy social life, social butterflies, you know. Um, but I do know a lot of genuine Geminis out there that are trustworthy. So I hope this video has helped you overcome any bad stigma and experiences you've had with Gemini, and lets you see a new light to them that can help you understand them and be open to other Geminis coming into your life. But yeah, stay tuned for when I do the Cancer video, because I'm hoping to do them all throughout the month, or every time their astrology changes seasons. And yeah, stay tuned for like more astrology shit, I guess. Let me know what you want to hear about Gemini's next, or which sign you want to hear more about. I want to do for all the signs, like what the flaws are when it's like a low vibe one, but we're sticking with positive shit for the time being. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta.